Hi there, it's Mishka. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today in Let's Talk Business. And today I specifically want to talk to people who are looking to start a business or to buy a business and might have questions in their heart and saying, right, I just don't know. What do I do? What business do I choose? What would be the right decision? How do I know if I'm going to be buying this business that it's going to be the right decision? If I'm starting in an industry, what would be the right thing to do? Now, I would never discourage anybody from doing anything. I'm not that type of person. I like to encourage people to get into the place that they're supposed to be. But I do also believe being very honest with yourself, and me being honest with you is part of encouragement, actually, because being honest with ourselves is one of the very first places that we have to get to. We've got to position ourselves. We've got to make sure that what we're going to do next will indeed be the right thing to do. Now, it's sad to see how many people have earned, really worked many years, hard-earned money, and then they don't do a proper due diligence when they go and buy into a business, or maybe buying somebody else's business, and that must be done. And then the business doesn't make it, and they lose everything in that process, which is something that happens all the time. And it's not really that very often the blame goes to the person who sold the company, but it's not always. There's so much more into this whole thing. When we start a business and when we buy a business, when we start to move into those processes, we have to understand that the buck stops with us. There is nobody else that's responsible for the decisions that we make. There's, one of the big concerns is that today it's sometimes that people simply don't want to take responsibility for wrong decisions. And we can actually stay in really uncomfortable places and really bad places because we refuse to accept that I've actually just simply made a mistake. So when I talk to you, from maybe a point of somebody that would be a mentor or somebody that's been in places before as a business consultant, my first thing that I would say to you is you've got to make sure that you're honest with yourself, number one. Number two, your business will always be your responsibility. It's never going to really be anybody else's. Doesn't matter. At some point we appoint people and they're taking over and they run it and it's good. But ultimately, you know what, if you're going to be a business owner, you're going to have to understand what you're getting into is not something that you're going to get out of just easily. The bigger we grow, the more responsibility we have, and the more we have to come to that place of being able to say, I take responsibility for my own mistakes. That the bigger we grow as a company, we need to understand that I've taken maybe a little bit longer to make certain decisions because I can impact so many more lives. So when you are in that place today and you don't have a company yet, and you're still wondering, what am I going to do? What should I do? What is good advice that somebody can give you? Then first of all, you need to know, I would say to you, understand who you are, understand what it is, what you want to do with, if you've got to stay in this entity, for how long? What are your plans? Why do you want to be in business? These are vital questions to a business owner. Are you starting your business because it is something that you want to go with, put your whole life into, understand that it's an investment, grow, become bigger? What do you want to do with your business? What do you see? Do you even see what it is that's going to be the next step? Some people go into business and no vision of 5 years, 10 years. We've got no idea whether we're going to stay in that place. Sometimes people are forced into, really, they've been retrenched. No, they have to find something. And then bad decisions can come in if we don't make time to literally go and sit down and be honest with ourselves, understand, where am I now? Where does this business have to take me to? What are my plans with it? What do I see in my business? What is this business to me? Position myself accordingly to this. I mean, I cannot see, for instance, somebody that is extremely, is a very, very good artist, and they go and do something completely the opposite, and run a business that's got nothing to do with that. It might become a little bit frustrating. Well, you might do it. So I'm not saying you can't do it, but I am saying that it makes sense that we first of all, again, know who we are, and then we get that business that we know that we've got that. We're good at what we're doing. We understand the business. We know that that is not something that we don't understand. And if we don't understand the business, we need to understand it. We need to know if we've got people around that will help us through it. You'll remember in one of the first sessions of Let's Talk Business, I said to you that very often people do business plans. They get somebody else to do the business plan for them, and they don't know what this business is going to do. This is really not good. It shouldn't be like that. If you're making a decision to start a business, you've got to be able to sit down and say, this business is something, I need to understand the role it's going to play in my life. It's like us. We've got different people. Let me put it to you this way. Let's give an example this way. Different people are coming into our lives. Different people are playing different roles into it. And some people, we know when we meet them, they're there for a specific time, they're going to do that. That's it. That's a role. It's identified. So it makes life so much easier because we know what they have to do. They understand what they need to do. And that's it. Maybe it's a professional role. Maybe it's a role of a colleague. We understand they're going to come and they're going to go. We know these people aren't going to be with us for a long period of time. But we also identify for the period of time that that person is in my life, that's going to be in the business or in the workplace or wherever they are, friend, that's what's going to happen. But there are certain things that we know is only going to be there for a certain period of time and for a certain role. And then there are people coming into our lives and we just know they're just going to be there, for a long period of time, because it's just the nature of the relationship is just different. And then you approach it differently. It's a different approach to have a long-term relationship than a short-term relationship. There's a different input that you give. You give different parts of who you are in different relationships. If somebody is going to be in your life for a long time, you understand that you've got to get to know them better. You've got to make sure that you know what's going to be good for that person. You start to sort of change your life in order for you to accommodate who they're going to be, who they are, because you know they're going to be there for a long time. They're going to hang around and they're not just going to go. You can see the difference. So if the short-term person is coming in, there's something that they bring into our lives, there's a relationship that happens there, it's all good. It's all the way it should be. It's like we've got different plants and trees and whatever in a garden. Some of the flowers will only bloom for a little while and they've got shorter seasons and they won't stay. Trees are growing and they'll stay there. Can you see this? It's the same thing with business. When you start in your business, your mindset has to be right. When you make the decision to get that business, you've got to ask yourself, can I be in this place in the long run? Please don't ever go into a business if you think you only want to have it for a year or so, or you don't have that, your mind is not already wrapped around it, that we are going to go we're going to hang in, we're going to stay here, we're going to go through starting this business. That's what I want to do. Once there's that level of commitment, whenever things are going to start to go wrong, you've already made a decision, we're going through. It's the same thing. In a relationship, works very similar. If you've got an important relationship in your life and that person is somebody that that's it, I've made my decision, it's going to stay. Then when difficulties come, it's going to come. But you're not just going to give up. Yes, it's going to be difficult. But you're going to know we're going that way. You've already got the end insight. You've already got that, you know we're going there. Sometimes when certain things are going to come, we know then how to pace ourselves. Business is the same thing. How do I think about it? If I've got to spend my life earnings on a business that somebody else is now selling, can you literally see yourself spending how many years there? Because understand, business takes time to give you back. There is so much of ourselves that we give in. In the beginning years of business, mostly we give. Mostly we give. We spend time on it. We make sure it runs well. We work hard. And the business gives back little bit. And sometimes it's frustrating because it doesn't even give back enough to cover all the expenses, because really, it's like a baby, you know. It needs more that when it gives you. And those of you who have raised kids will understand what I'm talking about. You know, as a mother, I used to do this. It was sometimes busy and hectic, and I've got amazing sons, and they would play hockey and rugby. They would be so busy, and I'd ask myself, goodness gracious, can't they just have a little bit of a less busy schedule so that I can also, because I want to be everywhere, you know, I want to make sure I'm there when they play the rugby, and I want to make sure that when he gets the hockey thing going, that I'm there. And then, but I've got all these other things to do. But you see, it's giving to them. It's when they, even in the, when they're like a baby and you've still got to get them into their clothes and you've still got to look after them and feed them and do all those things. That child doesn't give much back to you except the joy of having them. And sometimes they actually leave you a little bit tired because you wake up and you think, oh my goodness, I could actually do with a little bit more sleep. It's the same thing with business. Are you going to have a long-term business, and are you willing to make that investment that you understand from the moment you start with it that there are going to be times that it's actually not going to give you anything wonderful back. There are going to be times that the business is going to frustrate you. There are going to be times that the business is going to give nothing back to you. There are going to come times when you've done absolutely everything right, and your business might go through a season or a time where there's nothing. Are you going to continue? That is the decision that we first and foremost make. And that is why I believe it's important for people to, when they choose that business, is to make sure it's something that they would also enjoy. Something that they would take, that they will be an extension of who they are, that they can give in. What is it that makes you tick? What makes you happy? You know, people buy coffee shops, so they open coffee shops, and you'll find that there, a lot of times, ladies open coffee shops that come to me often for advice, and they love talking to people. They want to make a difference into people's lives. So they open this shop, and there's beautiful things, and they can bake, and they can just do everything, and they know exactly what to buy. They know what the market looks for, and they know they've got all of that skill. So when they are in their little restaurant or coffee shop, or whatever you want to call it, that's just their place, man. You just know that's where they belong. But then you get people that get frustrated, and when you walk into their business, you don't even feel welcome. Everything, you can feel things are going wrong here. And there's a frustration level, you see. Because unless we understand that a business is going to be in my life for a long period of time, and when I start with it, am I willing to give everything? Am I willing to sacrifice hours? Am I willing to absolutely nurture the business? Am I willing to go through the times when things are not going to go well? Am I willing to give it time to give me a return on investment? Because things don't happen overnight. Sometimes they do, but very often I have found that there were many years I first had to give in and give and give and give. And you know what's the most amazing thing? It's really like having your children. They grow up. All of a sudden, they start to do things for you. Isn't that awesome? They're wonderful. They just start to do things for you. All of a sudden, all of that time that you've given in, they do things on their own. They grow. They start to earn. They get educational qualifications. They really excel. And you just look at this picture and you thought, oh my goodness, where did that come from? And you forget that it was the years that you've actually given. and then they start to give back, and they start to be good to you, and they start to just be, it's just this wonderful relationship, because there's a moment that you go over into that. It's the same thing for business. So if you are in business, if you're looking to start a business, once again, if you're looking to start a business or buy a business, understand how long you want to be there. And if you don't have a plan to be there for long, perhaps you should just rethink it, because business will not always give you a good return on investment immediately. Mostly businesses grow. Mostly the more we put in, at a point they start to give back for themselves. They just bring back. If you are in business at the moment, and you may even start to feel that it's frustrating, things are going wrong, and you feel like tired because you're giving and you're giving and you're giving and you're giving, understand, once again, to always be, I don't want to say scientific because it sounds so terribly cold, but you know, we've got to make sure that we've checked that what we've done in our business is correct. So there are two reasons. I'm not saying give in, and the business never give back, because we've got to make sure that the business is running healthy, because a healthy business will always give you something back. It is like a healthy child. You'll see they will still give you that smile back. You'll know, oh, they've eaten now, they're happy, they're sleeping, Business is the same. Make sure that even if the business is not giving you a lot back, that it's still healthy. It means it's making money, it's run well, it is profitable, things are going. It might not be growing very quickly, it might not be giving you the profits immediately that you're looking for, but it is growing. And if you have gone through a time, that's absolutely normal in your business where you feel like nothing is happening. What is now? I've done everything I could. There is a time when it might be so frustrating, and you just need to know that you started this and you're actually going to finish it. You're actually going to stay at it. Stay at it. Choose an industry that's good for yourself. If you want to choose a franchise, make sure that it's a franchise that you can live with. A franchise is different. You can go and study them. You buy it, you'll have to have far more when you start with a franchise, but understand they've got rules and regulations. There's a reason you're buying basically the recipe for doing the business. That franchise changes something, you've got to change it. You need to understand that these are things you've got to calculate in the beginning. So it's good to start your franchise. It will help you because there's a name in the market. They might be selling it and it's good, but do know that if that franchise gives out an order to go right through the country and make changes, you're going to have to find the money somewhere. Even if you don't have it, you're going to have to find it, because otherwise you can't run the franchise. So study what is happening in the field. When you're starting a business now and you've got to make a decision of what you want to go and do, what are you going to buy? Never just buy a person's business on face value. You need to get in a consultant to do a due diligence on that for you. So be clear-headed, be absolutely think about this in the right way, and understand when you're starting business, you're really serious about it. Until next week, goodbye.